If you've found yourself feeling a little bit unmotivated and creatively uninspired lately, you're not alone. I have been feeling like that myself. As a matter of fact, I've taken almost 6 weeks off YouTube because I just wasn't creating anything that I felt really passionate about. So today I'm going to show you guys how I dusted off all those cobwebs and got myself back into a groove by shooting this 70s inspired fashion editorial. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I'm Carls J Soda and I take the influence out of photography and I focus on what makes you money, not what makes you spend it. And today I'm taking you guys on set with me for another shoot. Now I came up with this idea because I wanted to really shake myself out of my creative funk and I wanted to shoot something that I wouldn't typically shoot, and that is warm tones and a 70s aesthetic. If you have a look at my work, it's very colorful. It's usually shot in studio and I wanted to just pull myself out of my typical environment and throw myself into something that was different to what I normally do and challenge myself a little bit. And the results were amazing. So here's a couple of the photos that I shot, and as you can see, it's very different to my normal work, but I absolutely love them. I'm so happy with how this turned out. So I thought it'd be cool to take you guys on set with me and show you the entire process from pre-production all the way to post-production, and show you that you don't need a whole lot of stuff to make really cool images. You just need to think outside the box. So let's get into it. When I'm coming up with creative ideas for a shoot like this, I typically either source the location first or the prop I want to use. And because it's winter and I don't particularly want to go outside, I wanted to shoot this in my house. And I've got this corner of my lounge room where there's bamboo growing outside. And I thought, can I use that bamboo in some way? And then as the sun was going down in the afternoon, I was starting to get some light coming through that was quite warm and creating shadows on the wall. And I could see like plantation shutters, that sort of warm afternoon light. And then I started to think about the 70s. So I jumped onto Facebook Marketplace and had a look at some props that people were selling in my local area. And I stumbled upon this 1970s color TV. So for $100, I thought, you know what, that is a worthwhile investment. I ran over there, picked it up, brought it home, and if you can believe it, this TV actually still works. So now I had the location and the props sorted, I started to build a story around it. And in my mind, I was thinking about myself as a teenager and what it was like feeling bored because I was too young to drive and I couldn't go out. So I started to come up with this idea of maybe like a 16 or 17-year-old girl bored in her lounge room at home, waiting for something exciting to happen. And that was the story I thought I would tell. So then I had to go and find my model, organize the wardrobe, and just get shooting. I had the perfect model in mind for this, and that is Holly McKenna. I've worked with Holly a couple of years ago, but she just has this 70s rock child aesthetic to her, and I knew she'd be perfect. So I reached out to Holly and my makeup artist Helen, and we all came together on a Sunday afternoon to bring this shoot to life. As you guys can see, you don't need a lot to get really creative. I was using one light and what was available in my house, from our couch to the corner of our living room. Obviously, I bought the TV off Marketplace, but I just got creative with what we already had, and you can see the results speak for itself. So let's get started. Prior to the shoot, everyone gets a copy of the mood board so that we can all be on the same page and everyone can bring what they need accordingly. Thankfully for me, Holly has an extensive wardrobe, so she had a collection of vintage band tees, denim pieces, and 70s era accessories. And that's amazing because it means I don't have to go and source it myself. Now, she also had a vast collection of glasses and jewelry, which was just perfect. Quick little cameo here from my puppy Aspen, who always boosts the mood on set. Now, when it comes to a collaboration like this, we've got a hair and makeup artist, we've got a model, and everyone wants to get some portfolio pieces for themselves. So it's really important I give Holly and Helen the space to do their work, and I'm going to capture behind the scenes footage for them and also let them bring their own talents to the set to make sure that they're getting something out of this as well. So whilst Holly and Helen are doing their magic, I'm over setting up the set, playing around with the lighting. For this set, I wanted to use the FC120B from Nanlite with a projection attachment. And these are the metal gobos that go into the attachment to basically just mimic lighting effects. So I've gone with a plantation shutter effect, and I'm just playing around with the focus here to get the look that I want. I thought it would be cool to get some portraits of Holly just sitting with that light behind her with the rollers in. Just that sort of vintage getting ready vibe. So I just popped Holly on a stool and captured some portraits, and I actually really love the vibe with these glasses because that gradient just added a little bit of extra colour to the portrait. Now, whilst Helen finished off Holly's hair, I worked on the second set, which was using the TV and the guitar. Holly was wearing this amazing denim jumpsuit, and again, I just wanted it to be that sort of adolescent who was bored, hanging around at home, just waiting for something exciting to happen. I turned on the TV because I just thought the static added an extra vibe to the shoot, and then we just had a bit of a play around with different angles and seeing what worked. Now, as you can see, Holly moves really well, so she's making poses for me and I'm just adjusting my angle to play with that light. Because we've only got the one light, it's really important to make sure I'm moving around to just get some different options for the shoot. Now, it is really important when you're working with a hair and makeup artist that you allow them to step in and just make any adjustments as they see fit. This is a reflection of their work as well, so I let Helen just come in when she needs to adjust the hair and the makeup accordingly. Guitar prop actually ended up being a really cool contribution to the shoot, and I think secretly Holly was absolutely loving living out her rockstar dreams. So we captured some cool footage as well, and I just had Holly lean into the character, move around, play with her hair, and just have some fun. And we actually ended up capturing some really cool images. You'll often see me getting down on the ground, laying on my stomach, and pushing myself into an awkward position to capture shots. I just like to explore some different angles that we might not normally pay attention to. The next look we went for was this Canadian tuxedo, the double denim, that sort of all-American Guess campaign look. So I just stood on a stool over Holly and captured her from above. We turned the light up to be a little bit warmer here and took out the gobo just to give it that sort of softer light. Then Holly had a quick costume change and we grabbed the Polaroid just to have some fun. And I actually really love this outfit, so we went back to the TV just to have a bit of a play around with that in this set too. And then it was time to take Holly outside, and it had unfortunately started raining, but it kind of added something to the photos, I guess. Holly was in this fur coat and red dress to sort of give it that Studio 54 vibe, as if she'd finally had an invitation to go out and she'd gotten all dolled up. So again, we're just using one light here, and I pushed Holly into the actual bushes, so we've got some foliage in the front of the frame as well. And as you can see, Holly just knows how to move her face, so we captured some really gorgeous portraits here as well. Keeping in mind it was really cold outside, so we moved through this set as quickly as possible just so Holly didn't get too cold, but it was absolutely worth it, as you'll see from the images. So now my favorite bit, let's get into post-production. Now I've imported all of my images into Adobe Lightroom, and the first thing I'm gonna do is make my selects. Now I don't like to muck around with this, I'm pretty brutal. I'm gonna simply click through all of my images and just press P on my keyboard, which is gonna flag the images that I think are worth having a look at. Now you'll see all of the images that I have already edited, but for the sake of this video, I'm going to edit this one with you guys. The first thing I'm going to do is adjust the color temperature. So I'm going to slide that to a much warmer tone. Bearing in mind, I don't want to change her skin tone too much. So I'm now going to grab the tint and bring that down just a little bit so it gives me that sort of cinematic look. Next thing I'm going to do is just pull out the shadows a little bit so that we can see a bit of that detail in her lace top. And I'm going to bring the highlights down just a little bit. The next thing I'm going to do is bring the texture down and also bring the clarity down, just so I get a little bit more of a hazy look in the photo. I could do that with dehaze as well, so if we have a bit of a play with that, you can see that sort of just takes away a little bit more of the contrast to make it look a bit more like a vintage photo. The next thing I'm going to do is grab a gradient mask. So I'm going to use linear gradient. I'm going to bring it in from the side and just pull the exposure back. But what I'm going to do is come up here and subtract Holly from the gradient. So that's just essentially making the background a little bit darker, just to let Holly have a little bit more separation. Now yes, you could do this with the background one, but I don't want it all the way across. The next thing I'm going to do is come down here to my color mixer, and I'm going to select this pointer, click on Holly's skin, and I'm just going to subtly adjust her skin tone. Because we played around with the tint, I don't want to make her look like she has jaundice, so I'm just going to subtly edit this until I'm happy with it. I think about there's looking pretty good. The next thing I'm going to do is have a play with our color grading wheels down here. Again, I want it to have that 70s vibe, so I'm going to have a play down here with the shadows, and I'm going to make it a little bit cooler. So I'm going to bring in a bit of blue. And now coming across to our highlights, I'm going to slide it up to a little bit warmer. Now what's really going to make this image pop is adding some warmth to the mid-tone. So I'm just going to slide that out into our oranges just a tad. Then we're going to come down to our sharpening. Now it's really important here that we're not sharpening the entire image. So by holding Option, I'm going to slide that mask, and you can see where the white is where I'm sharpening the image. So I only want to do it around her outline. And then I'm going to adjust that sharpening slider just a little bit to make those details a little bit sharper. And then we're going to come down to our grain slider, and we're going to zoom into her face first and then add the grain, because it's important that we don't take away too much detail in her face. I think about there looks right. When it comes to editing, it's completely subjective. It's up to you, it's up to your taste. I often just have a quick look after I've made all my adjustments, and then I might go back and just make some little adjustments. So for example here, I just want to bring up the exposure the tiniest bit, and then I'm going to actually grab another linear gradient. I'm just going to pull it in on the side here to really darken up this part of the corner. So again, subtracting Holly from that mask and then bringing the exposure down. And I feel like that just puts her a little bit more center in the frame. So as you guys can see, I don't do a whole heap of retouching. I'm pretty happy with how these look with the color grade. If I was feeling like it needed a little bit more, I could take it into Photoshop, do some light retouching on the skin, but I think we nailed it with the lighting and just that color grade. So here's the final editorial for you guys to see. So now it's probably a really good time to plug my new book, Illuminate. It was previously only available as an ebook, but now you can get a hard copy version. So in this book are all the light recipes I've been using for all of my shoots. You guys can learn how to get a bit more confident with lighting, what lighting you should be using, and what equipment you need. This book is available from my website, and the link will be in the description box below. So that's it for this video, guys. I hope you got something out of it. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and let me know what theme we should do next. Make sure you have liked and subscribed, and I will see you in the next one.